All right, let's talk about something you've definitely heard before. It's just a headache. Well, you're about to find out why that's one of the biggest understatements in all of medicine. Today, we're going deep inside the brain to really understand the invisible storm that we call a migraine. So let's just start with a number. And this number should really stop you in your tracks. 3 billion. Now, that's not some corporate valuation or a wild social media metric. No, that is the estimated number of people right here on this planet who suffer from headache disorders. And migraine? It's one of the absolute most severe. I mean, just think about that for a second. Think about your family, your friends, the people you work with. Statistically, 1 out of every 3 of them is impacted by this. So this isn't some rare, far-off condition. It's a massive, shared health crisis that somehow we've all just kind of normalized. And that leads us right to the big question we're tackling today. How on earth can a condition that's this common be so profoundly misunderstood? To figure that out, we've got to start by separating the myths from the real hard facts. Okay, section 1, myth versus neurological fact. First things first, right? To really get what a migraine is, we have to tear down some of the biggest myths surrounding it. Let's separate the folklore from the actual neurology. Okay, let's get this perfectly crystal clear. Migraine is not a personality trait. It's not an inability to cope with stress. It is a disabling neurological disease, and it has genetic roots. It all starts with neurons in the brain that are, just exceptionally sensitive. And that idea right there, that is the foundation for everything we're about to talk about. Now, this next point, this is going to completely reframe something you've probably heard a million times. For years, right? People have blamed chocolate. Oh, I ate chocolate, now I have a migraine. But the science, it tells a totally different story. That sudden, intense craving for something sweet is often a symptom of the migraine's very first phase. It's called the prodrome. The attack has already started, and that craving is basically its calling card. And you know what? The exact same logic applies to another common scapegoat, light. You're sitting there, you start squinting at a bright screen, and you think, the light is causing this. But in reality, that sensitivity is often the brain's early warning system. It's yelling at you that the whole migraine process is already kicking off. And here is a really critical warning from experts like Dr. Orr. You know that instinct to just power through it or tough it out? Well, it can seriously backfire. See, by just enduring that prolonged pain, you can accidentally train your brain to get better at creating it. It's a phenomenon called central sensitization, and it can actually lead to more frequent and more severe attacks down the line. So writing it out is not the answer. And the data on this, well, it's just stark. It's undeniable. While migraine can absolutely affect anyone, it does not affect everyone equally. Not even close. Women are 3 times more likely to have migraines than men. And this huge disparity is largely chalked up to hormonal fluctuations, especially that big drop in estrogen that happens during the menstrual cycle. Okay, so we've busted the myths. Now let's get into the really cool stuff, the core science. We're going inside the brain to look at the actual molecular mechanics of this invisible storm. So, let me introduce you to the main character in this story, the trigeminal nerve. Think of it as this massive sensory highway for your face and your head. Now, in a brain that's prone to migraine, this nerve is basically on high alert 24/7. And when something activates it, boom, it triggers the chemical chain reaction that we feel as migraine pain. And here's exactly what that chain reaction looks like step by step. First, that nerve gets activated. That activation then releases a really important molecule. And this molecule, it causes what's called neurogenic inflammation. And not just means it's inflammation caused by nerves, not an injury or an infection or anything. This inflammation happens around the brain's lining. And that is what sends those intense, throbbing pain signals. It's a very predictable and incredibly powerful cascade. Okay, let's zoom in on that molecule, the one at the very heart of this cascade. It's called CGRP. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like a master key. It's the key that unlocks all that inflammation and pain. And honestly, pinpointing CGRP's role has been the single biggest breakthrough in modern migraine science. It has completely, and I mean completely, revolutionized how we treat this thing. So this brings us to a really crucial point. A migraine isn't just one single event, right? It's a whole neurological process. It has a clear beginning, a middle, and an end, and it unfolds over 4 very distinct phases. So let's walk through that entire timeline. You see, that painful headache part, that's really just the peak of the storm. The whole event actually starts hours or even days earlier with what's called the prodrome. Those are the warning signs. Then, for about a third of people, that's followed by the sensory weirdness of an aura. Then comes the attack itself, which can last for up to 3 agonizing days. And even when the pain is gone, you're not done. The postdrome, or what a lot of people call the migraine hangover, can leave you feeling totally drained for another 2 days. And this is why recognizing all these different symptoms is so empowering. Those early warning signs in the prodrome, like say you start yawning a ton for no reason or your neck gets super stiff, that can be your signal to take your acute medication early, maybe even stop the attack in its tracks. And understanding the postdrome helps you make sense of that washed out, exhausted feeling even after the pain's gone. It's all part of one long, continuous neurological event. Okay, so we've defined the problem, we've mapped out the biology. Now let's talk about the incredible revolution in fighting back. Seriously, thanks to that CGRP discovery we just talked about, the treatment landscape today is almost unrecognizable from what it was just a decade ago. And this slide really just highlights the massive shift in how we treat this. The old way, it was basically a scattergun approach. We were using drugs made for totally different conditions, like high blood pressure or depression, and just kind of hoping for the best. The new approach, it's like a sniper rifle. These new treatments are precision engineered to go in, find that CGRP key, and block it, stopping that pain cascade before it can even fully ignite. And what's so cool is that these targeted therapies come in a bunch of different forms, which offers incredible flexibility. You've got preventative injections that you take just once a month or even every few months. There are oral pills called Japants, and you can use those both to stop an attack that's happening and to prevent future ones. And there are even these super fast-acting nasal sprays, which are frankly a total game changer for anyone who deals with intense nausea and vomiting during an attack. And all of this represents a fundamental change in ambition. I mean, for years and years, the goal was just managing the pain, making it a little less awful. But now, the new benchmark for success is migraine freedom. We're not just talking about fewer bad days. We're talking about a complete return to a normal, uninterrupted life. That's the new goal. All right, section 5. Let's bring all of this together. We've gone from myth to biology, from the 4 phases of an attack all the way to the new frontier of treatment. So the big question is, why does making this invisible storm visible actually matter so much? It matters because when you understand the science, you completely change the conversation. You transform migraine from this subjective, it's all in your head experience that's so easy for people to dismiss into a tangible biological reality. It replaces stigma with empathy. It replaces confusion with clarity. The storm is no longer just a feeling. It's a mechanism that we can actually see, and more importantly, one that we can finally address. And so we're going to leave you with this thought. For centuries, people with migraine have been navigating this storm completely in the dark, with no map and no compass. But now the science has given us both. We can see the storm forming, we understand its patterns, and we have incredible new tools to calm the winds. The power has finally shifted. So the question is no longer if you can navigate it, but how.